Everybody ready to go?
Yes,
We'll
sir.
get back on the record then, and you may call your witness.
Cody Clark.
Mr. Clark, come around, please. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, have a seat in the witness chair, and state your name, please.
My name is Cody Clark,
Okay, and what's your address?
421 23rd Street, Chautauqua, Wisconsin, 54728.
You may ask.
Mr. Clark, how long have you resided at that address in Wisconsin?
4.5 years.
And you're the father of Kelsey, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain to the court what your parenting time has been with Kelsey since approximately 2011?
Basically, the parenting time has been whenever Kim says, Kelsey wants to come up. And then she comes up and stays till we get a call saying, well, it's time for her to come home.
And how often was she coming up?
Once, twice a year.
And when she would come up once or twice a year, how long would she stay?
I mean, it would vary on every visit, but it was a couple months at least at a time where she would come up.
Can you recall any times where she came and only stayed a week?
She did have over Christmas 2014, that was a short visit.
After she went back with her mother at that time, when did she come back to Wisconsin? When did Kelsey come back to Wisconsin?
June of 2015.
And did you enroll Kelsey in school?
Yes, we did.
That was in June, so was that a summer school?
Yes, it was.
Why did you enroll her in summer school?
She was behind in reading and spelling. We just wanted to get her caught up.
And so they had a program that you were able to enroll her in?
Yes.
And then how long did she stay with you in June, from June 2015?
She was there until November 24th,
Of
2015. Correct.
And she was attending school there that entire time?
Yes.
And would that have put her, was she in first grade or second grade that year?
2015. 2015.
Would that be second grade?
Yes.
And when she left in November, and then when did she come back to Wisconsin?
February 20th.
Of 2016?
Yes.
And was she once again enrolled in school?
Yes, she was.
We have certified records from the school there in Wisconsin confirming those dates. I've already provided a copy. It's the-
Any objection?
No.
Any without objection?
And since she was there in November, and she came back, I guess, 2.5 months later, why did she return so soon?
My mom got a phone call saying, Kelsey wants to come up and visit. So
Object, Your Honor, in regards to hearsay on that.
Sustained.
Had there been a death in the family
in December there was, yes.
in December? Who passed away in December?
My grandmother, my mom's mom.
Was her funeral in December as well?
Yes.
So when Kelsey came back in February, it was not due to a death in the family? Is that
No.
correct? when she came back in February, was there a set time that she was gonna come back to Kentucky to see her mother?
No, there never is.
What do you mean there never is?
They're basically, when she comes up to visit, she visits until we get a call saying, all right, well, it's time for her to come home.
And so how long was she then in Wisconsin?
Till July 18th.
And that was followed, was that the emergency custody hearing?
Correct.
And, we've talked about that you filed the motion for emergency custody in Wisconsin.
Yes.
You also filed a motion to actually modify custody overall, the Alaskan order, correct?
Correct.
And when did the Alaskan court have a hearing on that?
The Alaskan court?
Or, I'm sorry, not Alaskan, Wisconsin.
October 14th.
And at that time, did they issue an order regarding custody?
Yes, they did.
Was that they provided you with custody?
Correct.
Prior to today, have you ever been in a Kentucky courtroom relating to the custody or parenting time of your daughter?
No.
Has anything occurred to your knowledge in Kentucky regarding your child support, anything like that?
No.
And so, I want to make clear, so Kelsey was there from June 2015 to end of November 2015, correct?
Correct.
And then she came with her mother for a couple months and then was back in Wisconsin. When you would do the exchanges, were you bringing her to Kentucky? Where were you doing the exchanges at?
Usually right around the Chicago area.
At that time, did you believe that Miss Newton lived in Kentucky?
Yes.
And as of February?
Correct.
Have there been periods of time where you did not know where she lived?
That's correct.
Have there been periods of times where you were not sure if she was living in Kentucky or not?
Yes.
Did Kelsey attend school in Wisconsin during her kindergarten or first grade school years?
Yes.
Do you know what periods of time approximately she attended?
First grade was the spring. It was March, April to the end of the school year, I believe. And kindergarten was in the fall, before it was real cold.
Has Kelsey stayed any one place more than 6 months in the last 5 years?
No.
Objection. He has no personal knowledge.
I hope he does. He testified that she did.
Well, he testified. He can testify as to where the child was when the child was with him in Wisconsin. I don't think he's speculating as to where the child is
You
otherwise.
can cross him on that and see what the basis of his belief is. Overrule.
At any point in the last 5 years, have you gone more than 6 months without your child being with you?
No.
And if I understand correctly, other than the one Christmas visit, when she would come with you, she was spending multiple months at a time, is that correct?
Correct.
So when I ask if she's lived anywhere or stayed any one place more than 6 months, would that be based on the frequency with which she's been with you? And
Correct.
she's been with you in Wisconsin, correct?
Yes.
Does Kelsey have, is she established in Wisconsin? Does she have friends?
Yes, she does.
Object,
Are you
Your
all
Honor, in regards to relevance at this point in time.
Your Honor, we're discussing home state, and if the child's not stayed anywhere more than 6 months, I think where she has most of her relationships and ties and stability is relevant.
Well, I'll allow it. It's really not relevant as far as me determining which state's got jurisdiction. I'll allow it. Go ahead. Overrule.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Why would you enroll a child in school from July 1st to July 2nd in 2014?
I don't even understand that, how they print their records off, to be honest with you.
Why would you enroll the child from December 8th, 2014 through December 23rd, 2014?
Because if a child is in a state, she needs to be in school. That's my belief. If she can be in school, she needs to be in school.
And
Hold on a
you,
second. Let me hear that answer again.
Because if she can be in school, she needs to be in school. It doesn't matter what state is in or for how long. If she's in Wisconsin, she needs to be in school. If she's in Kentucky, she needs to be in school. If she's in Timbuktu, that's what I believe, Your Honor.
So it's your belief that a child visiting you for 2 weeks should be enrolled in the school?
If there's school going on and if it's not a break period, it's correct.
Go ahead.
wouldn't July 1st to July 2nd be a summer break period in Wisconsin?
Yes, it is.
Wouldn't December 8th through December 22nd or 23rd be a Christmas break in Wisconsin?
The 23rd would be, yes, that date.
So why would you enroll this child into school on breaks?
She was enrolled, the break was the last day she was enrolled in school, the day the break started.
You testified that you enrolled the child in summer school in her first grade year because she was behind in reading.
And spelling, correct.
Just- Are you aware that Kimberly Newton had sole custody in regards to decision-making on all educational decisions at that point in time?
Yes, I am, sir.
So you think the child should have been reading after first grade year?
She started reading, yes.
Okay, did you call her and consult her about whether this child should be enrolled in school in the summer?
There's been text message sent back and forth about schooling and everything.
Did she consent to the child being enrolled in school in Wisconsin for that period of time?
Yes, she did.
Yet she was completely unaware of it on the stand today.
She was, yes.
Isn't all this really necessarily coming down to, how much was your child support arrearage?
I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Have you ever paid child support?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do you think it's approximately between $25,000 and $30,000?
No. It's like right around 22, I believe.
So you think
Somewhere-
you're $22,000 in arrearage?
Somewhere's around in there, yes, sir.
So I guess everything gets registered in Wisconsin to start taking child support, and you start enrolling the child in school on summer breaks and Christmas breaks and things of those nature. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
And then necessarily, she sends the child up to school in July of 2015, or up for a 2-week break. And you guys enroll the kid in school in September 1st. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And at that point in time, she has sole custody of the kid.
That's correct.
So why did you return the child in November?
Because I wasn't asked to. We weren't asked to. When she asks to be returned, we meet halfway. We've done it before.
So you're saying no request was made until November?
Correct.
This child has never resided in Wisconsin for 6 months, is that correct?
Correct.
The child was supposed to come back. How long was the child supposed to be there in February of 2016?
It was not specified.
You heard her testimony that she came to Wisconsin, was actually at a courthouse when she was served her emergency custody papers trying to get her child returned. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So if it's not specified about when she's supposed to be coming back, why is she up there searching for her child? Why is she at a courthouse? Why is she doing all of these things?
That's a good question.
Very good question. No more questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
To clarify, when the child would have been there on a December 8th date, school would have been in session in Kentucky as well, too, right?
I can assume so, yes. I can't say for sure.
And it was kind of the practice of you and Miss Newton that when Kelsey wanted to go see the other parent, she would go and stay with the other parent for a period of time, correct?
Yes.
And when she was ready to go back to see whichever parent she was not with at that time, you all would arrange it.
Yes.
And Ms. Newton has testified, that's what she told the Wisconsin court, was your all's kind of the way you practiced, right?
Correct.
So to say that the child was never in Wisconsin for 6 months at a time, she was never in Kentucky for 6 months at a time either. Is that right?
As far as I know, yes.
Where was she the other time then? If she was never in Wisconsin for 6 months and never in Kentucky for 6 months, where was she?
She was back and forth, Your Honor. She went back and forth between the two states,
Okay. You're talking about total length of time.
total length of time.
Okay. Go ahead. Did the Wisconsin court know about the Alaska divorce?
Yes, they did.
Do you remember any comment they made about, did your lawyer, well, I won't ask what your lawyer told you, but did the Wisconsin court act concerned that there was a custody order from another state that they were being asked to change?
I'm not sure. I honestly don't know, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
On the transcript from the Wisconsin hearing, on page 73, the court discusses at length the situation with the Alaskan court order and jurisdiction and the parties not being there. They do discuss that at length.
Okay. Okay.
And there was testimony about how you started enrolling the child in school in 2014. How old is she?
She's 8.
So, how old was she when she started school? Did she start school at 5 or 6? Do you recall?
She would have been 5.
So really, was she enrolled in a public school prior to about 2014?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
When you enrolled her in school, did the schools ask for any proof that you have custody of her?
No, they didn't, Your Honor.
Okay. Recross?
I mean, you just said she wasn't enrolled in a public school in 2014. Is that correct?
No, I said before 2014.
Okay. No more questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, redirect. All right, you can have a seated witness, council table. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Any, y'all have any rebuttal or other witnesses?
Oh, Your Honor.
All right. The arguments, the summations.
Yes, Your Honor. Three witnesses testified today that this child primarily resided in the state of Kentucky. They were Miss Newton, they were her employer, they were her father. Child resided with both of those persons. The school records, which have been introduced by opposing counsel, correlate to the dates that Miss Newton testified the child was kept without her consent and, quite frankly, without the legal authority of them to keep her. There's no question that she had sole custody of the child and that the respondent in this case had no legal authority to enroll the child in school or to keep the child. The respondent on the stand says, well, it's a good question. Why was she up here looking for the kid? You're up there looking for, she was up in Wisconsin looking for her kid when she got served that paperwork at the courthouse because they had in effect kidnapped her. That's why she was there. That's why you go look for children. And she was not getting aid from the police agencies, and so she took the matter in her own hands and tried to locate her daughter. And that is the second time that they had engaged in that behavior. The testimony, the clear testimony from the respondent was that the child never resided in Wisconsin for a period of greater than 6 months. And there is no question from the testimony today that the primary residence of the child has been Kentucky. Kentucky is the home state of this child. The judge in Wisconsin, under the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act, could hear an emergency petition because the child was physically present there. There's no question about that. He then found there was no emergency and gave the child back to Miss Newton, who then returned with the child to the child's home state of Kentucky, where the child continued to reside from July until November of last year. This child is a resident of the state of Kentucky. Miss Newton is a resident of the state of Kentucky. It is incumbent upon this state as a sovereign to protect our citizens. And this court is the home court and the home jurisdiction of this child. It couldn't be clearer in the UCC JEA that for Wisconsin to have had jurisdiction, the child would have had to have resided there for a period of greater than 6 months. And for them to say the child was there for this extended period of time where we illegally enrolled her into school, so you should look at that. There's a reason we have a doctrine of unclean hands, Your Honor. And that's what that is. It's unclean hands. They kept the child without the permission of the mother in an attempt to manufacture jurisdiction, which they failed to do by never being able to keep the child for longer than 6 months. So even under their own theory, if they got to count every single amount of time that they unlawfully kept this child in the state of Wisconsin, they don't have jurisdiction. You have jurisdiction, Your Honor. Because you have jurisdiction, and because this is the home state, and the Uniform Law Commission, which promulgates the UCCJA, clearly points out in their commentary that any state that is not the home state of the child will defer to the home state if there is one in jurisdiction of a child custody dispute. This court has jurisdiction. As such, we would ask that you register the foreign judgment from Alaska, that you enforce that order, and that you enter an order requiring the return of the child to Miss Newton forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let me ask a question before you begin. Has this child, you're still under oath, has this child, when it's in Wisconsin, does it live with you or your parents?
With me.
Okay. Have you remarried?
Yes, I have.
Do you have other children?
I have a 9-year-old stepdaughter, Your Honor.
But you don't have any natural children other than this one?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Your Honor, we do not believe Kentucky holds jurisdiction. We question whether or not Ms. Newton has actually resided in Kentucky at any point for a full 6 months. We did hear testimony from Mr. Adams, who has a interesting relationship where both she works for him off and on and occasionally resides with him, and he travels out of state with her to look for a child. But his dates did not necessarily match up with Ms. Newton's testimony or her father's testimony. We heard testimony from her father that was just adamant that his address had always been hers, but then there's this question about when she was staying elsewhere, he didn't really know what was going on. We have Ms. Newton's testimony to the Wisconsin court that identifies that she was moving to Alaska, that that's always been her residential address, that she had been living in Indiana and had a nice little apartment there in a nice little town.
Your Honor, I'm going to object again to the characterization. You're going to look at it, but I just want for the record to object to that characterization. I don't think it's accurate from what I read in the record.
Don't note it. Go ahead.
This child has not stayed anywhere since she left Alaska for 6 months at a time. She just has not. The place that she has been the most is Wisconsin. There's been testimony regarding her Wisconsin schooling, but unless I just completely missed it, I do not recall seeing any school records from schools here in Kentucky showing that she was a student here in Kentucky or that Miss Newton had registered her here at any point in time. The only evidence the court has is that this child has been in Wisconsin, doing her schooling in Wisconsin, and that she would come to see her mother and her grandfather here in Kentucky. Presumably she would travel with her mother if her mother was working on location with Mr. Adams. But the closest thing that child has had to a stable residence is her father's address in Wisconsin. That is the child's home state. And I think when a child's not been somewhere for a full 6 months at a time, you've got to look at the next closest thing, and it's where has she been the longest, where is she most significantly tied to, and the answer to that is Wisconsin. And so we're asking for you to dismiss Ms. Newton's action and dismiss her action.
Let me talk to y'all about a few things here. There's some factual differences, obviously, from the testimony. Is it true that whenever the child, the extended period of time that you kept the child, including now, that you know that there is a Alaskan divorce decree that awards custody to your former wife? You know that.
Yes, I do.
But you've elected not to honor that.
When I,
You didn't let the child return to her mother, wherever she was, Timbuktu, let's say, wherever she was. I think it's irrelevant where she was living for this question. It's relevant as to who's the home state, but, and I haven't made up my mind yet, but why didn't you allow the child, what's the reason? Let's get right down to the brass tacks. Why do you not let that child return home to its mother?
the only time I didn't allow her to return home to her mother is when we filed the injunction for the emergency custody hearing and the petition
And
for
what's the purpose of that?
to modify placement. We have
What was the emergency that you thought?
drug use, Your Honor. We were also informed that she was possibly living out of a storage unit. There was social services involved in 2 different states, both Kentucky and Wisconsin.
Did they ever substantiate any of those things you'd heard about her?
No, before they could substantiate, the child had left the state of Kentucky and came to Wisconsin.
Did you call her and tell her that you were keeping the child? She said she didn't know where the child was. Did you, is that true, or did you tell her where the child was?
She knew exactly where the child was, Your Honor. She knew exactly which Christian Bible camp to look at, and that's all in police logs.
What about Christian Bible camp? What are we talking about there?
Your Honor, when we filed the injunction in the end of June, Kelsey and my stepdaughter Adrienne were signed up for a 1-week Bible camp. And Miss Newton knew that. And, we went back and forth, and finally I said, well, she's not leaving. There's an injunction filed. She's got Bible camp in a week. This is the court date. That was the end of it. And then I get a phone call from the Bible camp staff the second night of camp saying that Miss Newton was there trying to pick up the child. So nobody knew she was even in the state of Wisconsin.
All right, I'll give you, how much time do y'all need to submit the proposed findings of fact, detailed, supported by the record, conclusions of law and order?
Based on the child being currently in Wisconsin, Your Honor, we'd only request a week. I mean, we're trying to move as quick as possible, obviously.
I'd request 2 weeks. Your
Yeah, that's awful short. We'll do simultaneous rather than like writing a brief. And I want you all to submit that to me to help me with these facts. There's some similarities in the facts of this case. I think some of them can mesh, but some of them are diametrically opposed to the other two, and that's going to be a fact-finding issue for me. But I'm going to give you each 2 weeks. I'll do an order. What is today is the 20th. I'll give you all at least 2 weeks. I'll put in the order the date to file it. Now, let's carry this on out a little bit. Do we agree that the initial issue is this the home state of this child? Is that kind of the underlying issue here?
Yes.
You both agree with that? Agreed. If it's determined this is the home state, then do we go the route of I would need to discuss with one of these other states or both of them about accepting jurisdiction, or does that do it?
We would completely request that you enforce the Alaskan order until further modification at that time. We think that is the proper step at this point in time, is that if Kentucky is the home state, we certainly didn't capture that within the last year, Your Honor. It was prior to that, and that necessarily is immediately sanctifying that Wisconsin did not have jurisdiction when they entered their order in the first place. So we would be requesting that the Alaskan judgment be entered and enforced here until further modification by this court. We think any further modification of that order would at that time necessarily require communication between courts.
I want you all to address this, the action taken by Wisconsin in your briefs.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the basis, either you all are going to say that they didn't have jurisdiction. Of course, he's going to say that they do. There's a lot of issues involved in this case, and of course we want to get it right. So brief those issues for me, and then we will take it from there. Anything else today? Have you all, is there everything in the file that you all need to write your briefs from, to refer to the record and so forth? There's a lot of things been filed here. I don't know who's filed it. Did you all?
Well, we filed the entirety of the record from the state of
Maybe
Wisconsin.
that's what all that is.
And
Yes,
I
sir.
do have that as well.
Is that certified?
It is.
You all can
certified.
cite to that then, can't you, if you want to refer to the action they took? I just want to make sure we got a basis, not just argument, okay?
Yes, we have those. We also have this temporary emergency hearing that was entered today, as well as the exhibits entered today.
Let me ask you one more thing, and I think this is in essence why we're here. Is the child safe where she is at this time?
Yes, she is.
You going to assure me of that.
Yes.
We would object to that based on the domestic violence and the history of violence through the Alaskan case, Your Honor, which granted him, again, her
Was that
testimony.
domestic violence addressed against her or the child?
It was both. It prevented his visitation with the child. As her testimony went, Your Honor, she thought she was doing visitations with grandparents up in Wisconsin. She thought he was in Virginia. She didn't even know he was in Wisconsin, and still doubts that he was in Wisconsin. So this is, you know,
Okay. The child's been with him how long now, this last time?
Since November 7th.
2 months. Okay, well, I don't have evidence before me to change that today, but I want to float that because that's what I'm concerned about right now. The courts will take care of themselves, but somebody has to take care of the child, and I want to make sure the child's being taken care of. Anything else?
Judge, before we go off the record, could we go ahead and request, I know we'll need to pay for it, but we go ahead and request a copy of the transcript? I think that's, the video recording, that's usually easier for you to get now as opposed to later, isn't it?
Doesn't matter, I can do it now.
Okay.
I assume you both will want this.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else? Okay, I'll prepare the order and enter it as far as the briefing schedule goes. I will probably put in my order that both of you will notify me when you filed your briefs to let me know it's ready for submission so I don't lose the case. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.